I welcome you all to this video, and I hope you are doing good. So in this video we will be seeing about idioms and phrases. So what is an idiom, what is a phrase, and what are the types of phrases and how can we use. So all that we will be seeing in this video. So let's go to this topic. Okay, what are idioms? So idioms are nothing but they are a collection of words or phrases which have a figurative meaning that actually is used in sentences, alright. So it is more or less used to kind of compare. It's not like metaphor or simile, so don't get confused with metaphor or simile. That is different, but this is actually when we use it, it adds some color to the way you speak, alright. So when we are talking, mostly we want to talk well or maybe different, not just tell the same old thing. But when we compare it or when we use something that can actually fill in the normal thing that we say, it is an idiom, alright. So let's see more about what is an idiom. So these words can't be taken at their literal meanings since they would sound farcical. So usually we don't use, we use idioms, right. So usually they don't mean exactly what words that they are used with. So if we say there's an idiom, and we do not exactly take the literal meaning of it, okay. To burn the midnight soil is an idiom. We do not take the literal meaning, we kind of take that situation, alright. So I will explain how that happens. Next, idioms at times seem grammatically unusual as well. So sometimes, because we know that we are not taking the literal meaning of an idiom, sometimes it does not sound right. We feel like it is not sounding right and it has some grammatical errors, alright. Next, they add life and color to the prose. Like I told you, idioms are used so that it adds color or kind of a different feel to what you talk. It's not normal. So when you talk normally, people just get the point that you talk. Sometimes you want to make it interesting, you want to make your writing or your conversation interesting. That is the time you use an idiom, alright. Next, it allows the authors to play with words and make it an interesting read rather than straightforward boring paragraphs. So usually we use it in prose and poems and all that, alright. So it is mostly used by authors. So why they use it? They use it because they want to make it like sound good. So when you are telling something like straightforward, there is nothing interesting about it, right. You are giving the person what you are actually thinking. But when you use idioms, it makes that people think, or the person the other side think what you are actually trying to say. So that way it makes your conversation or your writing even more interesting, alright. So that is why they say the authors, they use it to make an interesting read rather than straightforward or just the boring paragraphs, alright. Next, idioms are often used in stories, poems, and even in the spoken words. So as I told you now, so idioms are not only used in conversations, they are especially used in stories and poems, alright. So from then the authors used to use a lot of idioms so that it feels good to read, and we also kind of learn and grasp new kind of words to express what we actually say in a different way, okay. Next, idioms. So here we will be seeing an idiom and the meaning of it. So I already told you, alright. So an idiom, when we take that into consideration, we do not take the literal meaning of an idiom, alright. So when you read a particular idiom, so for example, when I say kicked the bucket, alright. So kick the bucket, the literal meaning of kick the bucket is actually like you're kicking a bucket is kept here and you are kicking it. But actual meaning of kick the bucket is, I would write somewhere here, kick the bucket. So this is an idiom. So the actual meaning of this is to die, alright. So kick the bucket or kick the bucket actually means to die, alright. So we when we use, as I told you, idioms, when we see idioms, we do not take the literal meaning of that, right. So this is one example. We cannot take the literal meaning of this idiom. This means something else, which means it is to die. My grandmother kicked the bucket, which means my grandmother passed away or she died, she expired, alright. So we will see some of the idioms and their the meanings of it. Alright, first, penny for your thoughts. So from this, so penny for your thoughts actually mean asking someone what is on their minds. So literally penny for your thoughts means like giving a penny for what you think, right? But do not take the literal meaning of it as we told. But here the meaning is to ask somebody what is in your mind. So I am giving a decision, or maybe I am asking for a suggestion, and I want you people to tell me what exactly you all are thinking and what, or maybe what would you all think will work out for this particular situation. So if I am telling for example, I think I would be starting a law firm. So give me a penny for your thoughts means like I think I will be starting a law firm. So what are your ideas about it? So what do you think about it? So that is when I use a penny for your thoughts. Alright, so that is something that, or those are the scenarios or situations wherein we can use this idiom and make our conversation a little more interesting, right? Next up, beat around the bush. Beat around the bush means it's actually a common idiom that we use. So beat around the bush is something that is not like straight. So for example, I know something, a person has done something and I want them to come to me and tell, yeah, this is what I've done. I know vaguely that they have done something, but I want them to actually tell me, yeah, this is what they've done. So I can tell, come on, I know what's happening, just tell me, just don't beat around the bush and tell me what's happening or what's happened. So like a person, the other person, if he is not trying to give that perfect answer and he is trying to use all the other things to get out of the situation, he is not being like straight to the point, right? So he uses the other situations, or maybe he is trying to kind of make people get out of the situation, right? So that is when we use like, come on, don't do this, don't beat around the bush, just give me what exactly you were up to, or tell me what you were up to and what you were doing. Alright, next, burn the midnight oil. So burn the midnight oil, literally what it means, so there is an oil and you burn it, right? So literal meaning is burn the midnight oil is like burning the oil, but what is the idiom phrase, or what is the meaning of an idiom of that is like, you are staying up late, or you are staying the whole night awake. So that is actually the meaning of burning the midnight oil. See, work or labor late into the night is called as burning the midnight oil. So she burnt the midnight oil to crack her boards. So which means she stayed up all night and prepared to crack the exams, to crack her board exams. Alright, next up, judge a book by its cover. So judge a book by its cover means like looking at it and judging at it, right? So here we actually use it for rely on outward appearance. So you all would have heard about like don't judge a book by its cover, right? So like that, when you just look at your outward appearance, you should not judge a person or anything with the outward appearance. You should get to know about that person and then you will have to make a call. So that is why. So judge a book by its cover is to think about it the way it looks. So maybe I can use it in sentences, or maybe a person is coming and telling me, hey, that guy looks so sweet and he's so calm. So I can tell, hey, don't judge a book by its cover. I actually know how he is. So just don't look at him and just come to a conclusion that he is this, but when you get to know about him, he is a different person. Next, takes two to tango. So takes two to tango means most deeds or actions, misdeeds require participation from two people. So this actually means, okay, you and your friend, alright, you all are into something. So maybe we can keep this on a negative side. Maybe you all are into something, maybe a mischief or naughtiness and all. So takes two a tango means that you cannot do something, or any mischievous or naughty things that you do cannot be done just by one single person. You definitely need a company. You have to be accompanied from somebody, by somebody. So that is where you use takes two to tango. So maybe you have mischievous or naughty stuffs, maybe you have gone out with your friend and you have done something, but you are covering it up. So that is a mischievous deed, right? So you cannot cover it up yourself, you need another company to do it for you as well. So that time you can use like takes two a tango. So you know something is wrong and somebody's covered it up, but you know it's not a single person, but there's also an involvement of someone else. I think this is not done wholehandedly, it takes two a tango. So means that it is not done just by one person, it is definitely covered by two. Alright. Next. Now we will be seeing about what is a phrase. So usually phrase is just like that. When we hear phrase, it means incomplete sentence. Alright. So it is not a complete sentence, but it is a part of a sentence. That is what we call as a phrase. So a phrase is a small group of words that are like a unit. So it's like a part of a sentence, or it's, as I told you, it's not a complete sentence. These units are a part of a bigger sentence or a clause. So phrases makes up sentences, right? So these phrases, if you have a bigger sentence, this phrase will be a part of a sentence. So for example of a phrase, I could write here, I'll write here, he would have come but he was waiting for the rain to stop. So here, he would have come, but he was waiting for the rain to stop. So this is like you can see here, he was waiting for the rain to stop is also a phrase. So in this sentence, he would have come, but he was waiting for the rain to stop. Here we have a phrase. So he was waiting for the rain to stop is a phrase. Okay, so it is not a complete sentence, it's just a part of a sentence. So with that I have added he would have come, but he was waiting for the rain to stop. Okay, some phrases are this, it does not make a complete sentence, but it is a part of a sentence. Next, phrases are unlike idioms, they are actually direct and to the point. So when we compare it to idioms, we told that they do not take up the literal meaning, right? But phrases do take up the literal meaning, they are to the point. When you read it, see, he was waiting for the rain to stop. It is to the point, and you can understand very well that yeah, he was waiting for the rain to stop for him to come, right? So they are to the point, unlike idioms. Next, they do not figurative meaning. The expression means what the words indicate. So they do not have a figurative meaning. So unlike idioms, they do not have a figurative meaning. They are just to the point. Next, a phrase, unlike a complete sentence, does not have a subject and a verb. So we say it is a part of a sentence only, right? So why we call it just a part of a sentence is because they do not have a verb, alright, a subject or a verb. They do not the unit of a complete sentence, because they do not have a subject and a verb. Next, it does not express a complete sentence. They are a unit of a complete sentence. This is all what I told you all in the beginning only. They are a part of a sentence only, they do not make up a complete sentence. Next, a phrase can be written as a noun, verb, adverb, adjective or preposition in a sentence. So a phrase can be written, they will act as a noun, adverb, preposition, adjective and so on in a sentence. Alright, got it? Next, so we will be seeing the types of phrases, and there are about 7 types of phrases. So we will be seeing each type of phrases with examples for each. Alright. So first we have the noun phrase. So what is a noun phrase? So these are the phrases that contains a noun name, place or things and at least one modifier associated to the noun. Okay, so now a noun phrase means that they have at least one noun, which is a place or name or a thing, and one modifier which is associated to it. So modifier is nothing but a word that is actually modifying a noun, which comes along with a noun. That is a modifier. So the modifier can be prefix or suffix, can prefix or suffix the noun. So it can be prefix or suffix means a noun can be present in the phrase. The modifier can be before the noun or after the noun. The entire phrase will act as a noun for that particular sentence. So when this noun phrase is there, this entire part will act as a noun. So the entire phrase will act as a noun for the particular sentence. So that is a noun phrase. So let us see the examples of noun phrase. He was wearing a black linen shirt. They lived in a small tidy cottage. So here linen shirt or shirt is a noun, right? It can be a place or a name or a thing. So we are adding a modifier which is a black linen shirt. If you just say shirt, it's a noun. So a modifier comes before that which is a black linen, right? Good family, bad person, caring wife. All this comes as a, like caring is a modifier or acts as an adjective as well. So these are all like modifiers which comes before a noun. Next, they lived in a small tidy cottage. So cottage is a noun, so small tidy cottage. So this acts as a complete noun phrase here. Alex rode her old bicycle to their shiny new school. So there are two. It's a bicycle, we know that is also a noun, and school is also a noun. So we have here old bicycle, shiny new school. So these both are noun phrases which is in this particular sentence. Next, the black car got towed. So car is a noun, you know. So that's adding black car which is a modifier. So the black car got towed. So here black car is a noun phrase. Alright, got it? Fine. Or maybe we can use other sentences like he had a sweet and caring wife. So this is a phrase. So sweet and caring wife, right? So he was a brilliant student and hence he performed outstandingly. So these are all some examples of noun phrases. So student is a noun, but brilliant student is a modifier before that. Alright. Next, verb phrase. So what's a verb phrase? The phrase consists of the main verb or words and then auxiliary verbs are in the helping verbs. So verb phrase is nothing but a phrase that consists of a verb, one verb or a lot of verbs along with the auxiliary verbs. So what are auxiliary verbs? Auxiliary verbs are nothing but they are called as the helping words. For example, is, be, would. All these are auxiliary verbs. So has, have. So all these are auxiliary verbs. These are not only auxiliary verbs. There are a lot of auxiliary verbs and these are some common auxiliary verbs that we use. Alright, so let's see the examples. The teacher is writing the answer. So writing is a verb here. Is an auxiliary verb which is a helping verb that we already saw. So is writing. So this is a verb phrase, is writing. It's a verb phrase because it consists of verbs along with the auxiliary verb. Next, they have been playing since the last 2 hours. Have been playing. So here have been playing. Playing is, you know, it's a verb. So have been, that is also a verb, auxiliary verb. That's a helping verb. Alright. So that makes a verb phrase. Alright. Next, you must call your mom at once. So must is a helping verb here. Call is a verb. So must call here together becomes a phrase. That is a verb phrase. Next, he has taken the dog. So taken, here taken is a verb and has we already saw as an auxiliary verb. So has taken here together becomes a verb phrase. Maybe for example, I was just thinking of other examples that I could give you all. So maybe we can say he is talking to, I'll just clean this up. He is talking to my parents. So is talking. So talking here becomes the verb and is here becomes the auxiliary verb. Got it? Maybe we can use another sentence as well. The dog is barking at the stranger. So here barking here becomes the verb, right? And is here becomes the auxiliary verb. So here together this is the verb phrase. Got it? So these are some of the other examples that I gave you to explain what is a verb phrase. So now we've seen noun phrase, we've seen verb phrase, and now next what are we going to see? So next we are going to see about a prepositional phrase. So what is a prepositional phrase? Prepositional phrase is nothing but it is a phrase that consists of a preposition and the object of the preposition, which will be a noun or a pronoun. So what is a preposition? It is nothing but a word that comes before a noun to tell the time, a place, or things like that. See, on, at, so we use at for time. We tell thing on the table, below the chair, at the hospital, in the house, in the room. The book is in the room, in the shelf. So all these are prepositions. All right. Next, such a phrase also at times consists of other modifiers describing the object of the prepositional phrase. So usually in a prepositional phrase they use prepositions and it comes like before the noun, right? And there is a second criteria wherein there is also this other modifiers. So you can also see other modifiers in this prepositional phrase. So examples here we have, students are advised to be on time. So here on time is a prepositional phrase where on is the preposition and time here is a noun. Next, please turn towards the right at the table. Here towards the right. So this is a prepositional phrase. So here at, towards, right. So towards the right, here is the prepositional phrase at the intersection. So some other examples of this prepositional phrase can be the cat is hiding behind the tree. So behind the tree here becomes a prepositional phrase. All right. So maybe we can use another sentence or another example. The files for this case is in the shelf. So files for this case is in the shelf. So in the shelf, this acts as a prepositional phrase. Alright, I hope it is clear. Next, infinitive phrase. So what is an infinitive phrase? An infinitive phrase is a phrase that includes an infinitive along with a simple verb, which is an infinitive phrase. So it has an infinitive along with a simple verb. Alright, that is an infinitive phrase. So the other thing or point about an infinitive phrase is nothing but it acts as a noun, an adjective, or an adverb. Alright, so that is called as an infinitive phrase. So what's an infinitive? So for example, to walk, to read, to run, to write, to dance, to sing, all these are called as infinitives. So let us see here the examples and about the infinitive phrase. Alright. First, Alex likes to read comics. Here the infinitive is to read and the example here or the phrase here, infinitive phrase is to read. Next, to attend the morning lecture, I set my alarm for 6 a.m. To attend. So here to attend is the infinitive phrase. Here, to keep his dogs calm, Alex turned on the radio. To keep. So here to keep is the infinitive. So here this is the infinitive phrase. So some other examples. Maybe he singing is her passion. So she likes to sing always. To sing is an infinitive phrase. Alright. Next, Harvey likes to play basketball. To play is an infinitive. Got it? So this is about the infinitive phrase. So next up, what is a participle phrase? A participle phrase will begin with a participle which can be a present participle ending with ing or a past participle ending with ed. So this participle phrase is nothing but it's like any sentence which starts with a participle. So it can either be a present or a past participle. So what is a present participle? Present participle is something which ends with ing, alright, and past participle is something which ends with ed. So this is about the participle phrase. Next, one thing to remember is that a participle phrase always takes the form of an adjective in the sentence. So this is something like a rule or something that happens here. So participle phrase, it starts with a participle and it can either be in its present tense form or its past tense form. And one more thing is it always acts as an adjective in the phrase. Alright, it takes the form of an adjective in the phrase or in the sentence. Example, we got a call from my aunt today telling us the good news. So participle here, it ends with ing, so telling us the good news. So this is the participle phrase. Next, the house was severely damaged by the flood. So in this whole sentence, damaged, it ends with ed. What is this? It's a past participle, right? So this is ed. Next up, please sit down without making a sound. Here what is a participle? The participle here is making, because which tense it is? It's a present. So making ending with ing. So this is the example of a participle phrase. Maybe we can also use, I'll give you all another example. He loves reading comics because it is hilarious. So here reading comics, so reading, which is the present participle, read ing. So maybe I've just scribbled here, I'm sorry, reading, reading. Or maybe another example I could give, he adores playing violin as it is his talent. Playing violin. So here I've again used the participle phrase. Alright. So here it's starting, this phrase itself is starting with the participle only. Alright. So this is about the participle phrase. I hope you all understood what is it. So if you all kind of have any doubts, I think like you all have to read it and see few more examples so that it is better and you all can kind of grasp it easier. Gerund phrase. So what is a gerund phrase? A gerund phrase is a word that invariably ends with ing without exception. So any words which end with ing is called as a gerund. A gerund phrase is a phrase that contains an ing word with some modifiers in some cases. So usually this phrase ends with ing and it has not always a modifier, but at times it has a modifier to it. Next, difference between participle phrases and gerund phrase is that participle phrase functions as adjectives, gerund phrase exclusively function as nouns. So you all might wonder, so when you all when we were seeing about participle phrase, so there also we saw past and present participle, wherein present will have an ing and past will have an ed to the verb, right? So here gerund, we know that any word which ends with ing is a gerund. So you obviously are having kind of a confusion like how can we even identify what is a gerund phrase and what is a participle phrase. So that identification here is participle phrase always actions as like plays the action or plays the role of an adjective, whereas gerund phrases, they exclusively function as a noun. So that is something important that you all have to keep in mind. in order to understand the difference between gerund and a participle phrase. So for example, she is currently writing her memoir. So memoir here is the noun. So writing her memoir, which is a noun phrase, right? So we know gerund is something which ends with ing. Okay. So that is how we'll have to. Here noun is memoir, and with that it's coming. So it is completely acting as a noun. Next, the dishes here. It's a thing. So dishes here is a noun, along with it washing the dishes. This is a gerund phrase. Next, waking up before sunrise. So sunrise is a noun and waking up here. So that is a phrase. So waking, gerund. So let's go to the previous slide to understand which that preposition, participle phrase acts as an adjective, and that acts as a noun. Here. So if you see this sentence, I've written, he loves reading comics because it is hilarious. So he loves comics because it is hilarious. So that also makes sense, but we are making sure that he is reading the comics, which is adding more. Adjective is something that explains a noun, right? So reading here stands as an adjective. Here, he adores playing violin, and as it is his talent. So he adores playing violin. So it's something which is adding as an adjective there for the noun. So that is the difference between the participle phrase and the gerund phrase. Got it? Next, absolute phrase. So what is an absolute phrase? An absolute phrase will contain a noun or a pronoun with a participle. So it will have a noun or it will have a pronoun, but it will have a participle. So what is a noun? Like pronoun. Pronoun is what? He, she, him, they, all these are pronouns, which is second person, right? So the phrase will contain a noun or a pronoun, but it will also have a participle. It may also contain additional associative words and modifiers. An absolute participle will modify a whole clause or even the whole sentence, not only one word. So this is important. So this phrase, absolute phrase, it just not only modifies a clause, but it also modifies the whole sentence. Next, an absolute phrase is separated by commas. So if you say it's an absolute phrase, then you will have to find out, because how will you be finding that out is when this phrase is separated by a comma. So let's see the examples. He looked towards the beggar, his face expressing pity. So he looked towards the beggar. We know, okay, we are looking towards the beggar, but we have a phrase here, his face expressing pity. So this particular phrase here changes that context wherein it can be, if you don't see this, it can just be, he looked towards the beggar in disgust or in anger or in confusion, anything. But this phrase here given that it's changing the thought, wherein his face expressing pity. So this tells that he's looking at the beggar with an expression of pity, or maybe he is sad, right? So that is the absolute phrase here, and it is separated by a comma. Next, we were glued to the match, our eyes always following the ball. So we were glued to the match. Okay, we were glued to the match actually means, okay, we're just sticking on watching the match even without moving here and there. That's glued to the match. But what they are saying here in the next phrase is that our eyes always following the ball. So means that you are glued, but still you are so into watching where the ball goes and how it is going. Right, so that's an absolute phrase. Next, so these are some of the examples that we've seen. Let me give you another example. So the other examples can be cut. Start. Another example is the weather being fine, comma, we went to the picnic. So here the weather being fine is in this sentence it's separated by comma. We went to the picnic is an absolute phrase which has a noun or a pronoun. So we, picnic is a noun, So we is a pronoun. All right. So here I also forgot to tell you all, you'll have to identify a noun and a pronoun, right? So here his is a pronoun, our pronoun, next his pronoun. All right. So these are the pronouns that you can identify in a absolute phrase. So that's about the phrases. So these are about all the types of phrases. So in this video we saw what is an idiom, what is a phrase, and what are the 7 types of phrases. So in the next video we will be seeing about idioms and its types. All right. So some examples and for you to practice some practice questions. Okay. Thank you.